Russia's President Vladimir Putin has signed into law the annexation of 4 Ukrainian regions a week after separatist referendums that Kyiv and its allies called a sham. But the Kremlin now controls less of those regions than it did when the votes were held. Well, here's a look at the areas Russia claims it has annexed. Well, these are the 4 regions that voted in referendums to join Russia. The area in red shows what Russian forces actually control. Moscow says all of Donetsk and Luhansk will be part of its federation, even though it's not in full control of these provinces. As for Kherson and Zaporizhia, further south, many areas are outside Moscow's control, and the Kremlin has yet to clarify what exactly it's claiming.
The Ukrainian army is carrying out a pretty fast and powerful advance in the south of our country as part of the current defensive operation. Dozens of settlements have already been liberated from the Russian sham referendum this week alone in the Kherson region, the Kharkiv region, Luhansk and Donetsk regions altogether. Our warriors do not stop, and it's only a matter of time before we oust the occupier from our land.
Rory Challenz is live for us in Kyiv. And Rory, as we've seen, Ukrainian forces have made some significant progress in both the north, east and the south. Can you explain why they've been able to make such a dent in Russian-held territory?
Well, look, there are a couple of military concepts that can really help us out in trying to make sense of what's going on here. One of them is culmination, and the other one is initiative. Now, culmination is when, in an attritional fight, the advancing army gets so exhausted that it can't push on anymore. And initiative is who dictates the terms on the battlefields, the what, the where, and the how. And what we're looking at here is a Russian army that basically culminated weeks, if not months ago, and has now ceded the initiative to the Ukrainians. And that's the dynamic that I think we're seeing right now in Ukraine on the front lines. What does this mean in real terms? Well, if you look down in the Kherson region, the Russians are now squeezed in the north, on the west bank of the Dnieper River, into a small pocket around Kherson city. They're basically all now within range of Ukrainian artillery. The bridges over the Dnieper have been blown, so they can't retreat there. They're essentially surrounded, and that's looking very, very unrealistic for the Russians to be able to hold on to that. In the northeast, we're also seeing the Ukrainians continuing to focus on key transport hubs, towns that are a rail network, basically, like Izium, like Liman, and now like Svatova. And that means that the Russians and their ability to keep on fighting this war is getting very, very stressed, and that's why they're losing territory.
And more help is on the way. US President Joe Biden has pledged another $625 million in military aid to Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a continuation of this supply that has been so crucial for Ukraine and its ability to fight off the Russian invasion. Absolutely central to that is the HIMARS system, this very high precision mobile multi-rocket launcher system, essentially. So there are more of those coming. There are more of those precision rockets, more precision shells coming. This is all obviously good news for the Ukrainians and bad news for the Russians. Is there anything that could slow down or stop the Ukrainian advance? Well, of course there is. We've got winter coming. The weather is turning. The battlefield is getting more and more muddy. That means that armoured vehicles slow down, men slow down. On the other side, Russia's mobilization at some point is going to start hitting the battlefields en masse. Those men that the Russians have been very, very short of in recent weeks and months are going to start appearing on the front lines. Whether they'll be any good as fighters, as soldiers, that remains to be seen. Mobilized men often aren't particularly motivated or well trained. But yeah, certainly I think the Ukrainians think that they have a window of opportunity here and they have to maximize it as much as they can.
OK, Rory Challenz for us in Kyiv, thank you.